It is 2021 and we are beginning this new year with a new series called Know Your GM. In this series, we will be covering the stories and journeys of Indian Grandmasters, and we are starting it with MS Thejkumar. It is his birthday today. He is India's 50th Grandmaster and Karnataka's first Grandmaster. So let's know more about him. MS Thejkumar started playing chess at the age of 12, and then he's won many state events, and he became a national champion in 2003. He won the under 25 nationals, and this is very interesting. I also played under 25 and I backed second. And when he became this under 25 national champion, that is when I started chess. So he was already a big name in Karnataka when this happened. And then he secured his maiden IM norm in 2007. The interesting part here is that I was his roommate in one of those events and I saw him making a norm, and I observed him very closely as to how he was practicing. He used to carry some heavy books and check with his computer and see what opponents would do. And this was in 2007. And then right after the game, he would come back to the room and quickly check what was the status of the lines that he played, and then eventually prepare for the next game. So there was very less talking and more of chess when I was his roommate. And then later, a few months after that, he also made Grandmaster norms and did that too in very quick succession. So it all came in 2008. And then he also got employed by railways. And now here comes the twist in the story, guys. The only thing that was left out was reaching the magical figure 2500, because he had completed 3 Grandmaster norms, so all he had to do was just touch that 2500 mark. But that did not happen immediately. Not 2009, not 2010, it went on. And here, this part of his story is very inspiring for me as a player, because he did not give up. His rating was going high, approaching in 2480, 2490, again coming down. And then eventually he did it. He did touch the magical figure in 2017. So I remember that he played some events in Sri Lanka, then a rating event in Goa, and then finally got that done. Now in this entire journey, I feel that we all have a lesson too, because we as adults, when we are playing, I think it's important to keep him as a motivation, because we know that we can reach. And sometimes you see young grandmasters making mark, but I think it's never too late. He became a GM at the age of 36, and that shows that it's never too late. You can become a GM if you believe in yourself. So for me, he is a very inspiring personality, and I like that he did not give up and he completed his GM title. So that made road for the other grandmasters. So in Karnataka, we have Stanley GA, and then also Girish Kaushik, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. So then after he attained the GM title, he keeps playing events. I must also mention that he won the Indian National Championship once, and that was great. So when I talked to him about the series we are doing, he was kind enough to share a favorite game of his, and we are going to look at it. So with this, I would also like to take this opportunity to wish Thejkumar happy birthday. May you have all the success that you want in your life. Let's go to the game. This is a game of MS Thejkumar where he played white side against Ashwin Jairam. This happened in Bhopal. I did play this event, and this was the 8th round of the event, and he went for d4 and Ashwin Jairam played Grunfeld. Now I remember that in 2006 I also played this with black, and against me MS Thejkumar tried bishop f4 and won against me, and in this game he played queen b3. The system is very dynamic and it gets sharp very quickly, but you see how Thejkumar converts this variation into his strength. It's sharp, but he also uses positional elements to his advantage. So let's quickly look at the critical moment. In this position, e5 pawn is going to fall anyway, so he took this opportunity to put a knight on d5. You will know the reason why he does that. This is a novelty according to the base, and after knight ge5 he exchanges the knight, and then in this position take a moment and see what you would do as white. I'll give you some options. Do you want to play bishop h6 and attack the rook? Do you want to play bishop e3 to just develop the bishop? Do you want to play pawn to h4 to start attacking on the king side? Or do you want to play something else? In this position, if you chose h4, very good, that was the move played by MS Thejkumar. But bishop e3 and bishop h6 are also fine. You have to just be willing to give a pawn for activity and you're fine. So he went the AlphaZero way with h4, and this happened in 2013. So after h4, his opponent went bishop e6, and with h4, what I want to mention is that Thejkumar wanted to make use of the fact that the rook is on h1 and that he has not castled. So he wanted to make sure that just by being on h1, this rook could contribute into the attack with h4, h5 and hg6. And after bishop g5, queen d6, taking advantage of the awkward position of the queen, he got another move with rook d1. Now there are a lot of threats already, indirect threats, I'll get to that. After rook e8, h5, let's say instead of bishop d5, to understand the threat, let me make a move a6, a null move. Then there is hg6, hg6 followed by knight f6 check. And then after bishop f6, rook h8 mate is threatened. You are not even worrying about the queen hanging on c4. So this is a threat and quite a deadly one, and so black felt obliged to take on d5, and then white played rook takes d5. And after queen e6, he played hg6. Taking the pawn with the queen doesn't make sense because it ruins the black's king side. So after hg6, white played f4, black played bishop to g7, and to limit the scope of this bishop, he went e5. Knight takes e5 seems like a practical try, but white is anyway better. Then knight e7 happened, and now he simply played rook d2, and the exchange of queens favor white in this position because white has active pieces plus white has the king in the center, and we need to use the king in the endgame because king is an active piece. So after knight f5, he took queen takes e6, rook takes e6, and you can see that the knight could land on to e3 or g3. He prevents it with a simple move, king f2. And after bishop f8, he further improves his position of his pieces with g4, and then after knight goes to g7, he plays bishop to c4. So he's slowly activating the pieces. Now the position is not really sharp, but it is positional in nature. There are active pieces for white which are doing the job. After rook c6, he plays bishop b3, making sure that the rook will never land on c2. At the same time, this rook on d2 will now go to d7 and enjoy the heaven on the 7th rank. And after knight e6, he played bishop f6, threatening a mate on h8. So after bishop g7, this is where he found a very nice idea. He played bishop takes e6. F takes e6 is out of question because of rook d7. Somehow completely exploiting the 7th rank. Rook takes e6 is a possibility, but then white can play g5, and then rook d7 is going to follow very soon. It's unstoppable. So after bishop e6, Ashwin played bishop takes f6, and now comes a nice little long variation. I'm saying it's a long and little because to grandmasters it may seem very simple, but it's actually quite long. For example, in this position, after bishop takes f6, he plays bishop d5. Now you see that the rook is attacked and the bishop is attacked. Now some of you may be stopping your calculation here saying that, oh, this is winning, but no. There is still something more to calculate. After bishop d5, what if your opponent goes rook d8? And then if you take the rook, he will take your rook. Or let's say if you take the bishop, after rook d8, if you take the bishop, he'll play rook d6 and pin your bishop. So that happened. He played rook a d8. And now if you play ef6, there is rook c d6. You can't really take bishop takes f7 check here because he'll simply take king takes f7. Remember that the bishop is supporting the rook. So here e takes f6. Then rook c d6. The bishop is attacked. You can't move the bishop because your d2 rook hangs. All this had to be considered when you are going bishop e6, okay? And now rook h d1. You are supporting the bishop. But what about c6? Your bishop is hanging again, attacked. But now comes bishop takes f7. So this is the culmination of the combination. So after bishop f7, you simply win the rook. So that is the reason Ashwin played king f8, but white was simply a piece up. Now the king successfully protects the rook, and it's all game over after that. So that was MS Thejkumar's best game, and was very happy to share interesting moments from the game. I hope you all liked the game and the new series that we have. So I also hope that you got to know a little bit about Grandmaster MS Thejkumar, about his journey, because that is the intention of doing the series, so that we introduce Grandmasters to all of you and you know more about them, and that also inspires you more to become GMs one day. I hope you liked the video. Do subscribe to our channel if you're here for the first time. That's all from my side. I'll be back soon. Bye bye.